It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
Hey, it's your weekly cup of coffee here at Slumberland at the Lake. I am Wild Will.
I'm Uncle Chris.
And getting closer to the holiday season, we're going to tell you about the West Side Christmas Walk.
Yeah, apparently you were busy.
Yeah, we walked and walked and walked. Plus, got Stacy Shore, local real estate expert. She's been in the industry for 30 years. She's going to tell us a little bit about the lodging tax we've been talking about, but not just the lodging tax, but why did it go away in 2024 after 31 years in existence? Plus, the KC Chiefs, wow, uncharted territory for them.
Yeah, it's been a while since they were in this position. Probably no playoffs. Is the dynasty over? We'll talk about that.
That plus a couple of huge giveaways you want to tune in for. But first, on the other side of this message from Slumberland at the Lake, as promised, I'll be joined by Stacy Shore.
Black Friday deals.
Final days, up to 60% off list, only at Slumberland. Get a comfy Ashley sofa, just $339. Plus a best-selling Lazy Boy recliner, just $399. Relax in a dual-power reclining sofa in leather for just $799. Get a Sealy mattress for $299. Get an Ashley 6-piece dining set for just $399. Plus, no interest till 2029.
Black Friday all-month-long sale.
Only at Slumberland Furniture.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, make sure you come and see him here at Slumberland at the Lake. Now, we've got Stacy Shore with us. I'm so glad you joined us, Stacy. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
An interesting topic we've been covering here recently is, on this show, is the TCLA lodging tax, and does the Lake of the Ozarks needs a visitor or a lodging tax? So real quick, in June of 24, the Supreme Court ruled the existing TCLA lodging tax system was unconstitutional, meaning after nearly 31 years in existence, the Lake Area Lodging Tax, a tax that made up a $1.9 million budget in 2024 to market and promote tourism at Lake of the Ozarks, was no more. And all this talk recently about do we need one, what happened, I first kind of wanted to take a closer look at why, after 31 years, would a lodging tax be found unconstitutional and go away. So to tell us more, someone much more familiar with the history of real estate and the TCLA lodging tax at Lake of the Ozarks, Stacy Shore. You've been a realtor down here for a handful of years, right?
30,
so you can tell us 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So what could you say about kind of like, where do we begin? What's the history of the TCLA lodging tax?
Well, I think the most important thing is to realize not very many people, individuals, could actually bring suit against a political subdivision that has a purse of $1.9 million a year. So the individuals that brought that suit, Gail Griswold and Laura Solomon, were actually, they paid the TCLA tax, right? So they took it all the way to the Supreme Court. Hardly anybody can afford to do that. So God bless them. But what they found, the court found, and the word that stuck out the most to me, because I sat in the Supreme Court, I sat in that when the justice
during the lawsuit that was filed in 2019, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so when it was finally settled, the judges called it a scheme. And what I'll just high points of it is that vacation rentals were never part of what was voted on in 1993. However, the TCLA was taking liberty to make people who own vacation homes, which is a residential home, believe that if they didn't pay the tax, that they could lien their homes. So we're talking a quasi-political subdivision being able to lien someone's real estate if they don't pay a tax that was never voted on by the people.
So for people that may not follow, the TCLA lodging tax in the Tri-County area, it would tax the lodging institutes for people that stayed in their accommodation.
4%.
4%.
Mm-hmm.
And so at some point in time, as the Airbnb and the nightly rental industry picked up, the TCLA started unconstitutionally, you're saying, taxing
it was
those
illegal
nightly rentals.
Because that's not what's voted on. The Hancock Amendment in the state of Missouri says you cannot tax an entity unless it's voted on by the people. That wasn't even part of the conversation.
So it didn't already fall under like the nightly rental?
But the big deal is this, and I mean, we could go way into that, but I know we have a lot to talk about. But to understand how the elections were ran for that board, this is just one component. One individual admitted on the stand that he voted as a board member 47 times. 47 times to keep the board like he wanted it.
Like in a year or how?
In 1 year, in one voting cycle during that
one election.
Yeah, in one election, 47 times, which that means he could throw his votes any way he wanted. But it wasn't until he got on the stand, I think it happened in the lower court, that he admitted he voted in one election 47 times to keep the board the way he wanted it. So when the soccer complex whole debacle came in, that's really where the lawsuit originated. But so much was learned during that time that, I mean, that tax was incredibly predatory.
Yeah, and a lot of people that nightly rentals were getting more popular.
Right.
And so you guys saw a real issue, and that's why that food
And
was...
it wasn't about nightly rentals. It was more about the lodging tax and the misappropriation of funds, the way the board was being elected. And they were trying to force another 4%, meaning 8% total, to fund something that they really didn't bring the entirety of the membership into the conversation. And so those people were rejected, and they spoke out because they were trying, those the entities that were taxed, the small resorts, right? So that's a whole nother conversation.
Can you real quick, just in layman's terms, so when it comes to the Tri-County Lodging Association, you have Miller, Morgan, and Camden County, and those were broken down into small and big business districts.
Small, medium, and large.
Small, medium, and large.
Yep.
Okay, so can you kind of break that down just a little bit to how that worked when they were taxing them, and so how that money would move around?
So you had in Camden County, there were only 2 at large. That would be the Lodge of the Four Seasons and Tantera. They never had to elect because they were the 2 largest. However, it was evolving quickly that the smallest category were the short-term rentals, but they were emerging fast to be one of the larger entities.
Were they producing a lot of return or a lot of...
Yes, they were. And again, the fight was they were never what was voted on, ever. So it was, I believe...
Was there pushback? Were there nightly rentals and homeowners that were renting there?
A lot of people that were starting to figure out that, again, they were being threatened, that if you don't pay the tax, we can lien your home. That's insane. And that is not what was voted on. So there was a lot wrong with that. The bulk of that tax went to salaries, perks, and benefits. Okay. So when you really broke down, which they did for the court case, where did that money go? Salaries, perks, and benefits. Like throwing out the first pitch at a Cardinals game cost around $30,000. I mean, things like that. There were so many entities being paid where we were seeing no return on public PR companies from Columbia. What did they do? No one could quantify that. So
you guys had a great disagreement as far as how the funds were used.
Absolutely.
And the legitimacy of the overall organization. That's what brought on the lawsuit. And so the lawsuit was won. It went away. And as of 2025 now, we're seeing that there's no lodging tax. And so a lot of people are saying that, hey, lodging tax is the reason that we're seeing a huge decrease in sales tax receipts, or a decrease.
But it's not.
That's what I was going to say. So what would you say to those people?
Well, I think that here's the deal. There's a lot of cherry picking of data. And the voters at Lake of the Ozarks are smart. They've proven that, right? That when a tax can be predatory, we got to look at the real data. So we need to look at pre-COVID numbers, because a lot of times people want to look at data now compared to last year. Well, in 2025, all of the ARPA, which was stimulus funds, they went away. So all funds appropriated, which was putting a ton of money cyclically into our economy, it dried up. So when you look to say, okay, we are down this much, well, look at Las Vegas. They're down, they have a huge lodging tax, like 13%, I believe. They're down 14%.
What about areas, Branson?
And talking to a counterpoint in Branson, they're down the same we are, because year to date, now this isn't fiscal year, this is January 1 to today, we're only down 1%. And we lost almost every weekend in May and June due to the weather. So when you're looking at data, you have to say, okay, let's look at the weather. Let's look at pre-COVID numbers. Let's not cherry pick data to drive a narrative that we're in trouble. Because as someone who sold real estate for 30 years, I feel like I have my pulse on industry. We may be a little down because, again, there are other factors at play, but taxes are predatory. When the TCLA came into existence in 1993, through the current day that they were operating, their biggest mechanism of advertising were magazines.
Yeah.
There's something now called the internet.
Yeah.
Where if you keep your 4% as a hotel, motel, vacation rental, then you can promote the lake, promote your own individual thing on your own by collecting and keeping that 4%. I mean, you can't tax people 4%, but you build it back into your rate. So again, this just needs to be a very educated conversation. We have to use data that's real and not cherry pick for the purpose of fear. Coming off of COVID and stimulus, we've got to look at that and say, okay, what are other areas doing statistically? The whole country's down. The whole state is down.
Let me ask, just because we've only got about a minute left, because those are all points that'd be really hard to argue with, and I'm glad you're bringing those to us. But so is there a solution that could include a visitor or tourism tax or lodging tax in the future at Lake of the Ozarks? What would that look like, or is it possible?
Again, and this is me, Stacy Shore. I believe that taxes are abused and misused every day. And I think you go back to the soccer complex where one guy was voting 47 times to keep a board the way he wanted it, shutting everyone else out, to double lodging taxes on small mom and pops, okay? So I think that honestly, taxes again are predatory in nature. And if we can use real data to support, not cherry pick data, but real data to support how they could help the entire region, I see growth, I see positivity. But if every business, not just lodging, it would consider possibly, let's have that conversation. But to put that burden solely on the lodging part of Lake of the Ozarks, I think is unfair. And I think people are still stinging and reeling from the corruption of the TCLA. And I think you're gonna have a hard time convincing a lot of people, show us how you're gonna use the tax, show us how it's gonna benefit, and then let's have a conversation on real data, real numbers, real facts.
Yeah.
And I think we can go from there. But for me, no. I think that you keep that 4%, and then with the advent of the internet and late TV and other mechanisms like it, you promote on your own and you get so much more yield out of that.
Well, I think these are the way to have these conversations, because whichever way you sit, it's always so heated.
Yeah.
So to have these conversations and hear both sides, I love it, and I appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Stacy Shore, we'll be right back on
Will.
Cup of Coffee right after this.
The lake has it all, even this time of year. Some incredible events.
The scenic outdoors, there's so much to see.
But listen, there have been an average of 6 fatal crashes in Missouri per month from distracted driving this year.
That's where you come in. Always remember to buckle up and put your phones down. Your eyes belong on the road. This reminder to drive safe, boat safe, brought to you by Price & Randall Injury Attorneys.
So remember, drive safe, boat safe all season long, and a big shout out to our friends, Price & Randall Injury Attorneys over there. Now, interesting conversation with Stacy Shore, kind of digging into why the TCLA lodging tax was found unconstitutional.
Fascinating topic and story, and I'd tell you what, people on both sides are very, very emotional about this thing. So it's good to get just a good, even conversation, find out why it went away, what the problems were there. Do we still need to, fill in that space with something else that's a conversation to be had? And you heard Stacy saying, hey, if people promote themselves, we get that same effect and they're not paying a tax. So it's interesting if people can come together and just logically, unemotionally talk about this and see what needs to be done there.
No, I appreciated that though, because these kind of conversations that are sometimes hard are the most important. And so Stacy says, hey, let's remove emotion. I just want to explain to you why exactly it was found unconstitutional. There were some things going on that were not right. And if it ever were to move forward where the Lake of the Ozarks got a lodging or a tourism tax, we'd want to be very mindful and be on the lookout for some things. And she also brought up some good arguments as to why maybe some of the headlines and some of the belief that the lake is down and it has to do with the lack of the lodging tax could put those to rest as far as those arguments she brought up. So good conversation. We'll keep that conversation going. We've talked with local elected officials, developers, even people who were part of the TCLA board before. We've pulled them. We put a poll out on Facebook to find out what people think. So we'll keep this conversation going. But hey, our next local headline of the week, it was an interesting one. Local team flips off Lake area cop while leading a high-speed chase on motorcycle and then foot.
This was a weird one. Another weird one. 19-year-old male from Max Creek allegedly had drugs and multiple credit and debit cards in his possession that did not belong to him. So the chase ended with a manhunt on foot right around Y Road and Highway 54 there. Everybody kind of knows where that is. According to the probable cause statement, Terrence J. Dickerson is this kid. He drew the attention of police when he weaved through traffic on a motorcycle on Highway 54. You see that too often, actually. A Lynn Creek officer noted that the bike did not have a taillight or license plate. Dickerson reportedly picked up speed, rode in a careless manner when he saw the Lynn Creek police officer following him, made no attempt to pull over when lights and sirens were activated. And the officer said every 15 or so seconds, Terrence would turn around and flip me the bird, right, on the motorcycle and almost lose control of the motorcycle in the process. Eventually, Dickerson did crash the bike, but then he got away, right? He's out there running around on foot. He leaves his helmet and his backpack behind. He's off running around. So finally, they bring in the drone unit, K-9 teams, Camden County deputies, Missouri Highway Patrol, Osage Beach officers, formed a perimeter, and they finally catch this dude. So apparently they started the chase around 6. They finally arrest him about 8:36. 2.5 hours later, they finally find this guy.
Yeah, and the time that they thought they had him, right, when he crashed his bike, he left his backpack in the process, and in his backpack they found meth, 3 driver's license, social security card, debit and credit cards, and even a Missouri EBT card that were not his. As you said, he was arrested around 8:36 and booked in Camden County Jail and was charged officially with possession of a controlled substance and aggravated fleeing a stop or detention. His bond hearing was scheduled for Dickerson on Tuesday, December the 8th. We'll keep you posted on that, but interesting. Fortunately, none of our local law enforcement agents were hurt. In our next local headline, another local law enforcement agent, Camden County Sheriff Deputy Leon Austin, on December 2nd, rescued an injured owl that seemed to have been hit by a vehicle on Highway 54 in Max Creek. The Missouri Department of Conservation then took the owl to ensure proper treatment.
Yeah.
A local law enforcement agent helps an exotic animal with a brave rescue. Sure, who doesn't love these kind of stories, right? Cat in the tree, cows in the...
You're the big animal lover, right?
Yeah, but we've seen that, right? Cats in the tree, cows in the frozen pond. But this wasn't Deputy Austin's first owl excursion.
Yeah, believe it or not, back in March of 2023, he responded to KK in Osage Beach for another injured owl. Same officer, right? Thankfully, this one was able to fly away, that last one. So they're calling this guy the Owl Whisperer, right?
I don't know if they are. It's what I'm calling him.
That's pretty cool, though. I mean, I love these. Birds of prey are so cool, you know, I mean, the way they do it. But these owls are awesome. This is a barred owl like the common in the state, reside along forested streams, lakes, and rivers. So they're perfect for the Lake of the Ozarks.
Hey, and owls play an important role in the habitat. These predators help control mice, rats, and rabbit populations, which can be pesky rodents. So I do have to ask, you kind of ruined the punchline, but I've got to ask, Leon Austin, is it Camden County Deputy or Owl Whisperer?
You go with
That's
Owl
the only
Whisperer
person
there.
calling him the Owl Whisperer.
If you've ever seen owls eat, you know, they eat like if they're eating mice, they just swallow it whole, right? I mean, they don't like just eat the meat and leave the bones. So then when they poop out bones and everything.
They don't poop, though. They regurgitate.
No, I
yes,
think they poop.
We literally dissected owl regurgitated pellets in school. I'm almost positive that owls don't poop. They regurgitate.
That's the question of the week. Do owls poop?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they don't. They regurgitate. And they come up with these big old logs of fur and sticks and bones. And we dissected them in school, which is longer ago than I care to admit. Hey, another local headline. Did you see that State Rep Jeff Vernetti announces his reelection campaign for Missouri House District 123?
Yeah, been there for a couple years. Remember a couple years ago we had that very contentious campaign with, who was there before him?
Dr. Lisa Thomas.
Dr. Lisa Thomas. Very ugly kind of mudslinging campaign. And Vernetti won that. He's been there for a year, and I think he'll be, every 2 years they have to be voted back in. So it's like an ongoing campaign. So Vernetti emphasized that his commitment to accessibility and constituent service will remain at the forefront. He and his wife Kelly live in Camdenton, are proud parents of a couple of kids. One of those kids we covered in high school football, Dominic, right? And Isabella. So I don't know, has there been anybody else that has filed to run against him?
Not that I've seen, as he announces, and he's done a pretty good job, been very, very active, including he's launched Lake of the Ozarks Days at the Capitals. That'll be April 16th of next year. It's a day where all lake businesses and civic organizations get together and kind of showcase what makes the lake special, right from the Missouri Rotunda at the State Capitol building. So that will be cool. But
cool.
Announcing his re-election campaign for the Missouri House District, 123rd District, that is. So congrats to Jeff Fernetti, and we'll be following that race as it comes up. And I do believe, did they announce dates for the general and the primary election
I didn't
for
see
next
any
year
dates
at the end
on
of that?
there. And Jeff was on Cup of Coffee for an interview a while back, right after he went to Washington and, got to hang out at the White House and all that. And it was like, how cool is that? That would be awesome, man. That would be pretty neat.
But the primary will be in August 2026, and the general election will be in November of 2026,
I don't see any
believe.
dates on there.
All right, so hey, over the weekend, we were telling you last week about the West Side Christmas Walk that took place, and we were there. There were 46 participating businesses. We made about 20 plus stops, Unique and Brindley. And from Lori to Greenview, there are some incredible small businesses. You may not know about it, all the way with unique finds in mint in Greenview. The last stop was the Shrine of Mary St. Patrick's Catholic Church in Lori. But for every 6 stops, you got your passport stamped, you turned it in, you got a new card, and there were grand prizes to all participants. It didn't cost anything, and there was no purchase necessary. Our morning started at the Lori Elks Lodge. They offered free breakfast, which was awesome, by the way, and they had a lounge of TV set up for husbands. This is right up your and I's alley. They said, wives, drop your husbands off all day. We'll feed them for free, and they can watch football.
That's my kind of walk right there.
Yeah, shout out to the Lori Elks Lodge. But there was restaurants, businesses, coffee shops, nonprofits, grocery stores, and hey, my buddy James and Sam at Bryant Outdoors, we bought 3 pair of sunglasses. They were $2 a pair on special. So that's the West Side Spring Walk coming up, but this was the 5th annual West Side Christmas Walk, and I want to give a shout out to Jill Nagel and Angie with the Bargain Box. They did a ton of work. It was very well organized and a great day, well participated, and that West Side Spring Walk coming up in the spring of 2026 on the West Side. But I didn't even know there was 46 small businesses and places to stop like that in Lori in the West Side.
And you hit 24 of them. So my question is, was it your idea? Were you like dragging Unique and Brindley along, or was it their idea and they're dragging you along?
Let's just go with it was my idea, and I was dragging the girls around. We'll go with that. So one of our stops we stopped at was the Sunrise Farm Market, which is awesome, right there in Sunrise Beach, the best Christmas decor stop at the lake. Now, Kelly and Pat, they're new owners. They bought it back in 2024, and it is an amazing store what they've done with it. Now, it's a farm market in the spring, right? All your produce, flowers, plants, yard ornaments. But this time of the year, they've turned it into a Christmas emporium. Right? Real Christmas trees and wreaths, ornaments, gifts, decor, thousands of items in stock. And listen, they're huge Kansas City Chiefs fans. So they got lots of neat KC Chiefs stuff, including like Taylor Swift, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce. And they've got one of the nicest Christmas photo ops down here at the lake. They've even got a Sunrise Farm Market label with jams, jellies, pickled stuff like that.
You said the pickled asparagus was good? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Wow.
And candied jalapenos, dip mixes. But hey, the best coconut cream pie I've ever had. It's Amish homemade right there at store, Sunrise Farm Market. Good luck, because if they're in stock, I'm buying them. But here's what I wanted to tell you. Stop in and see them. The Christmas season, they're open until the 21st of December, Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, and on Sundays from 10 to 4. But make sure you join our Christmas tree giveaway on Facebook. Now through December 18th at midnight, we've partnered with Pat and Kelly at Sunrise Farm Market to give away this $650 Christmas tree right here on your screen. So you got to go find that giveaway on our Facebook page and enter. But seriously, stop by and see them. A really neat couple with a great store and a lot of fun. Like I said, that photo op you see right there on screen of our family Christmas photo. Our family Christmas photo this year was taken there.
I saw that when you posted that. It was beautiful. They've done so much with that place. They've only owned it for about a year, but they have turned something that was good into something incredibly good. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Stop by and see them. And again, don't miss that Christmas tree giveaway contest you have until December 18th. Hey, speaking of Christmas, So one of the cool traditions is the Rockefeller Christmas tree, right? Every year. Let's take a look back at a American Christmas tradition.
Okay, so this year's tree is from East Greenbush, New York. It's a Norway spruce. 50,000 multicolored energy-efficient LED lights, crowned with a Swarovski star. Of course, like you said, this is a tradition there in Rockefeller Center. But the tradition has been around for a while. So the official website of Rockefeller Center says 125 million people visit this Christmas tree attraction every year. 125 million people. Christmas Eve, 1931, during the height of the clutch plague. I never even really remember what the clutch plague was. Workers at the Rockefeller Center construction site decided to pool their money together to buy a Christmas tree, just a 20-foot balsam fir that they decorated with handmade garland from their families. And that tradition started in 1931 with those workers at Rockefeller Center getting that little 20-foot tree, putting it up. Look what it's turned into now.
Yeah, a few other dates as we look back. In 1936, they went with 2 trees and had a skating pageant to celebrate their newly opened ice rink. In 1942, World War II ushered in a patriotic theme. In 1955 was the first year scaffolding was used as the tree grew and took over 20 men 9 days to complete the install. In 1997, the tree came down the Hudson River and it was making its way from its home in Stony Point. In 1998, a tree from Richfield, Ohio was flown on the world's largest aircraft transplant plane. It was a Russian airplane. In 1999, the largest tree ever at 100 foot tall was displayed. In 2004, the first 550-pound Swarovski star adorned the top of a tree with 25,000 crystals and 1 million facets. It was 9.5 feet in diameter. And if you're wondering about this year's tree, 75 foot tall, 11 tons it weighs, and it is 45 foot in diameter. And you mentioned that it made its way from East Greenbush, New York, donated by the Russ family. But that's just a little look back at the Rockefeller Christmas tree. You ever been?
We have been there. It wasn't during Christmas, but we have been there. And after they're done with the Christmas tree, it goes to Habitat for Humanity and helps build houses for people in need. So that's pretty cool, too.
Very, very cool. All right, real quick. So Mizzou is going bowling for the 5th straight season. They'll play Saturday, December 27th. in the TCLA Gator Bowl versus the 19th ranked Virginia team, who is 10-3, the ACC regular season champions.
That'll be a good game.
Tigers are favored by 7. As far as the Chiefs lose back-to-back, and now at 6-7, I think it's probably safe to say that this season, in regards to a postseason berth, probably not likely, and as a matter of fact, is about over. Kelsey slowing down. Mahomes may not be the same quarterback in year number 8, people are saying. And also, Andy Reid turned 68 this offseason. So my real question is, not just is this season over for the Kansas City Chiefs, but hey, you diehard KC Chiefs fans, is the dynasty under Andy Reid dwindling down and coming to a close? I'm curious. We'll be interested what you have to say. They still have the Chargers, Titans, Broncos, and Raiders. Be interesting indeed. All right, so listen, you know we've done our NFL Pick'em contest, the best seat in the house, all season long. Well, Week 14, congrats to John Henderson. He won 2 weeks' worth as we had a tie last week. We've got just 4 weeks left, and Alma Anderson and Nick Reese are tied at 143 points. Uncle Chris, you're in second at 138. With 4 weeks left, someone's going to win 2 Lazy Boy recliners valued at $1,080 each. But don't wait. I'm going to tell you real quick about 5 of the best recliners in store right now. Number 5, this wild Brody accent chair, pretty awesome, only $7.99. This Lazy Boy Veil Rocker recliner, there's 3 options here in store for just $3.99. This Ultra Comfort lift chair, this is like a recliner on steroids. Cup holders, storage, light up remote, a coffee table, and it's a full lift chair, $19.49. This Lazy Boy Rocker recliner, number 2, for $6.99. And this is the one I've got. It's a Ashley McGann rocker recliner for just $4.99. Looks good in any room of the house. Lots of options here at Slumberland. Lift chairs, rockers, massage chairs, office chairs, all the above. And if you want a massage chair, you got to do that online, of course. And Uncle C, before we go this week, just want to end with one. Our favorite scripture of the week is Isaiah chapter 9, verse 7. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. Of course, God communicating through the prophet Isaiah about hope and the future that was to come through Christmas season. That's going to do it for this week's Cup of Coffee. Thanks for watching.